on our way to the show.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Gettin Cheezy with Van and Jeezy. I'm Van.
And I'm Jeezy.
Jeezy, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back. I really didn't go anywhere, though.
Jeezy moved, everyone.
Well, in the words of Jean-Ralphio, I'm technically homeless.
What?
Psych, actually right now, carrying 2 leases. I'm the opposite of homeless.
You're the broke part of homeless, though.
Fuck it, had to.
Let's get into it. We promised you we would finish up the schedule rankings that we started a couple weeks ago. Hopefully we'll get it done before the regular season. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, here's part 3 of 4, at least.
You go ahead and you lead us off here. This is John Breach's brainchild here.
The Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, the Washington Redskins, and the Dallas Cowboys. Those are the teams we are talking about over in the NFC East. With the easiest schedule, and also with the multi-million-dollar man with a lot to prove, the Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, really, that Carson Wentz thing was a bad idea.
Either that or we're going to look like complete idiots when the time comes, which is not any different than I normally look. I don't want to comment on how you look normally, but...
No, you're right. You're totally right.
91.75 schedule difficulty rating. Overall, NFL schedule difficulty rating, 28th.
Which is also actually the easiest in the NFC overall.
Goes to show you, again, that the easiest belongs to the AFC.
Yeah, because it's kind of a joke. Their easy stretch the Eagles have now, they end November playing against the Patriots and the Seahawks. But after that, in December, to end the season, check this, Dolphins, Giants, at Redskins, Cowboys, at Giants.
Do you think the Cowboys are going to be bad?
Well, this was for later in this section, but Zeke is still holding out, so who the hell knows?
That's true. Dak Prescott, as good as he is, he's really not very good when Zeke is out.
Cannot do himself. Also, fun fact, the Eagles are actually 9-1 against New York in the past 5 years.
Fudging weird.
No, it's not. The Giants are just bad. It's not weird. It's just, it's expected.
I mean, I feel like it wasn't that long ago that the Giants were okay-ish.
2007 was 12 years ago.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'm getting so old.
Yep. Rough stretch for the Eagles. Starts in week 9. They're going to play the Bears at home. Bye week 10. Then they go at the Patriots, at the Seahawks.
That's kind of an ideal time to have their bye. I mean, that's a tough stretch, but, it's pretty short.
I just don't know how good the Patriots are going to be. We've mentioned this before. Are they going to be good this year? I really don't know.
I honestly have no idea.
Their weird scheduling note here. The Eagles are the only team in the NFL that has to play a true 3-game road trip, meaning that there's no bye week in between. It's just straight up, you are on the road for 3 weeks. Between 1990 and 2018, there's been 142 instances of that happening. The visiting team came away with a winning record 49 times, which is 36.6%. So there's a pretty good chance that they'll be on the losing side of that. 63.4%. The teams either went 1-2 or 0-3. 25 times they've gone 0-3 specifically.
Statistically, the odds are, 50% for 3-0, 2-1 versus 1-2 and 0-3. Theoretically.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what the odds, but see, then you have to apply some kind of curve for your likelihood to win.
We're talking about standard deviations and 3 sigmas. We're not gonna get all into this.
All right, fine.
If anybody's wondering, that true 3-game road stretch, week 6 to 8, they play at Vikings, at Cowboys, at Bills.
Vikings are tough. Cowboys will be something, especially if Zeke's there. Bills?
Nope.
Okay. All right, well, they should come out with at least 1 win.
Speaking of no and nope and New York Giants are next.
93.0 schedule difficulty rating with an overall NFL schedule rating of 27th.
Which is the second easiest in the NFC, right behind the Eagles, who we just mentioned.
Easiest stretch. Here's the quote. If Eli Manning ends up as the Giants starting quarterback this season, they might want to go ahead and bench him if he can't lead them to a 500 or above record through the first month of the season.
Week 2, home against the Bills. On the road against the Redskins next. Hosting the Buccaneers in week 4. That's like 3 of the worst teams.
Look, Eli Manning, you play for your job. You play for your job.
Yeah, you play for your job. Speaking of that, Daniel Jones could be in for an ugly debut, this says. Their rough stretch comes right after their Week 11 bye. They have to go to Chicago against the Bears, Week 12.
That Chicago D is going to be big.
After that, they play us at home, the Packers. And then they go back on the road to face the Eagles. And the quote here is good. It says, "It's almost fitting the Giants hired a comedian to announce their schedule this year because laughing at the pain that each loss brings might be the only way Giants fans make it through the season."
They hired Tracy Morgan, everybody.
It's so funny. I love Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan is good, but...
He's so good in 30 Rock. It's funny because his name is Tracy Jordan in 30 Rock. Have you ever watched his stand-up? His stand-up is A, super vulgar, B, really good.
Yeah, I have watched his stand-up, but I've actually never watched 30 Rock, really.
Their weird scheduling note is that they don't even have a Sunday night game this year, which is the first time since 2001 the Giants have not played Sunday night football. Not being involved in a primetime game means that, you're pretty bad.
I was just going to say they're not ready for prime time right now, even though they have Saquon Barkley, who I think may be the best running back in the league.
He's a stud.
I mean, Alvin Kamara is obviously up there.
Don't sleep on Aaron Jones.
No, I don't. I'm not sleeping on Aaron Jones. I'm just giving Saquon Barkley his due props.
He is very good. Next up, your hometown team, the Washington Redskins.
Wait, why you got to call them my hometown team?
You pulled the same shit on me last week with the Carolina Panthers.
But the booty thing is, Washington plays in Maryland.
Close enough by proximity. Redskins have a 98.0 schedule difficulty rating, overall NFL ranking of 19th.
It's pretty surprising how big of a jump they are, because they should be generally playing the same teams, right?
For the most part, right? I mean, they're playing, obviously, the NFC East. They're playing the NFC North, and I guess the AFC North. Their easy stretch also comes with their weird scheduling note. After week 8, they play just one game over 23 days.
What?
Yeah. They start a Thursday game on week 8, which means they have 10 days to prepare for Buffalo. And then after that, they have a bye. So, I guess that's just how math works. 23 days.
One game in 23 days.
Yes.
Oh. I thought that meant 23 days between two games.
No. Tough stretch. First 5 weeks, they start away at the Eagles. Then they play home against the Bears, home against the Cowboys. So they are one of just 3 teams in the NFL opening the year with 3 straight games against teams that made the playoffs last year. A little bit of a reprieve in week 4 against the Giants. Week 5, they play Patriots.
I like this. They're talking about the scheduled release video that the Washington Redskins put out. The Redskins went with a Game of Thrones theme for their scheduled release announcement this year, which made sense because that show is total chaos where everyone is always stabbing each other in the back, which kind of describes the Redskins under Daniel Snyder.
It's not wrong.
Agreed!
They're a fucking mess. We went to that game last year. First off, that stadium...
Horseshit.
It was like half empty to begin with. And that's even after the fact that they pulled tarps over most of the seats in the upper decks to make it look more full. Weird scheduling note, the Redskins have actually never won a game in Miami where they're playing this year. They are 0-5 since 1966 in the regular season.
Holy shit. They've only faced each other 5 times in Miami.
Yes, and they are 0-5.
Wow.
Hardest schedule in the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys, 102.75, ranking 11th overall in the NFL.
But they have an easy stretch to start things off, featuring the Giants, which they should beat up on, the Redskins, which they should beat up on, and the Dolphins, which they, you guessed it, should beat up on.
Yep. After that, rough stretch, starting week 12, road game against the Patriots. Then they have just 4 days before they play the Bills on Thanksgiving.
Thursday is always a short week. What are you going to do?
Hopefully they can figure out a better way to do that because this is not fair. Same thing with traveling time zones is some bullshit. I'll also point out safety concerns because the players cannot turn their bodies around and be ready for another physical game in that short amount of time. After that, they go and play at the Bears, at home against the Rams, at the Eagles.
Too easy. They have the toughest schedule in the NFC East, but it still doesn't crack the top 10 most difficult.
Nope. But strangely, they actually don't have back-to-back home games at all this year.
I guess that's what happens sometimes.
Just sometimes it bees like that.
They say it don't really bees like that, but sometimes it do. Now we're going to cut over to the AFC East. For those of y'all who don't even know it, that is the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Bills.
Check this bullshit. You ready for this?
Go ahead.
Easiest schedule in the NFL. 84.375. This team comes out of the AFC East. It's the fucking Patriots.
Tell me how you really feel, man.
You tell me this league isn't stacked up for the Patriots to make it to the Super Bowl every year. You tell me that. It's some bullshit.
I don't know why that has to be so easy.
Tom Brady's so good. Watch him do 3-yard checkdowns to wide receivers and running backs as they run over the fucking worst teams in the league year after year after year. Don't forget, they're in a division with the fucking Bills, the fucking Dolphins, and the fucking Jets. 3 of the worst teams in all of the NFL. So it's a guarantee they're going to win the AFC East every year. Are my feelings clear enough yet about how much I hate the Patriots and how much I think that Tom Brady's a fucking joke?
Those teams are heavily responsible for the reason that Tom Brady doesn't get hurt.
Because he plays 6 games a year against the JV squad.
Powder puff football.
That's right. Speaking of powder puff ball, this says, based on how their schedule is set up, the Patriots might be able to rest their starters by the end of October.
Oh my gosh.
Between week 2 and week 7, they play 6 straight games against teams that did not have a winning record last season. At the Dolphins, Jets at home. At the Bills, at the Redskins, Giants at home, and at the Jets.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fudging easy.
So it sounds like the Patriots are going to start the year 6-0. And then their rough stretch is going to be starting in week 8. They play at home against the Browns. And then 4 straight games against teams that all made the playoffs last year. At Ravens, and then a bye week. At Eagles, Cowboys, and then at Texans.
That would be pretty tight.
Baltimore game is on Sunday Night Football. Check this out. The Ravens are 10-0 in home primetime games since 2011.
Wow. Generally, they do not fuck around. I should say that I think they're a generally well-coached team.
They're generally a B team.
Like every year, though, without fail for a long time.
Every year, they're definitely in competition for a wild card spot.
That's been their MO for quite a while.
Don't be pushing much more than 9-7.
If they hit 10-6...
They hit 10-6. The Steelers are going 13-3. They're not getting it anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
So if I can expand on how terrible the AFC East is, the Patriots are playing more primetime games this year than the rest of the AFC East combined. They play 5 primetime games this year, and the rest of the AFC East combines for 4. The Patriots probably go, like fucking 14-2 again because they're playing a bunch of bullshit trash. And then I think this is actually the second easiest schedule in all of the NFL.
The Buffalo Bills. 85.75 rating.
They start the year off with their easy stretch. Week 1 away against the Jets. Week 2 away against the Giants. And then in Buffalo, week 3 against the Bengals. Those are once again 3 pretty trash teams, except don't forget the Jets. Picked up Le'Veon Bell.
That's right. Asterisk on this, quote, these are 3 of their most winnable games. Implying that just because they're easy teams to beat doesn't mean they're easy for the Bills.
That's entirely reasonable. It also says it's going to be a rough holiday season for the Bills. Their roughest stretch of the year starts on Thanksgiving and runs straight through Christmas. They're playing 4 teams that finished with a winning record last season, and 3 of them on the road. At Cowboys, Ravens at home, at Steelers, at Patriots. It says the Bills are going to need a Christmas miracle to get out of that stretch with anything better than 2-2.
I mean, they're going to need a Christmas miracle to get out of that with anything better than 1-3, I think.
Did you also know that the Bills are the only team in the NFL not given a primetime game at all in 2019?
Well, they also get shat on because they don't get their home opener until week 3.
Sorry, Bills.
Sorry, Bills.
Number 2, New York Jets, 87.125. This is the 3rd easiest schedule in all of the NFL. Week 9 starts their easy stretch. They play 6 straight games against teams that finished 2018 with a losing record. At Giants, Dolphins. At Redskins, Raiders. At Bengals, and Dolphins.
Yep, bunch of teams they could beat up on. Look, if the Jets can gel a little bit around the new talent they have in Le'Veon Bell, and who's the quarterback there? It's Darnold, right? He's got
Sam Darnold, yep.
With an easy ranking like that, they might just have a shot.
It says that if they can get into week 9 with a decent record, they probably could sneak their way into playoff contention.
Obviously, it's always going to be tough when the Patriots have the easiest schedule in the league and they're the Patriots. But the Jets might be able to come out with a winning record, get that wild card.
Well, it doesn't get any easier for them starting week 3 at Patriots, Week 4 bye, which is also shitty. Early
Yeah,
bye.
shitty early bye.
Super shitty. Week 5 at Eagles. Cowboys Week 6. Patriots Week 7. And actually, you know what? It's not even easy before that either. They have to play at home against the Browns before that.
The Browns are going to flush the Jets down, I would have to say.
You know what's really nice for them, too, is they don't actually even leave the Eastern time zone the entire year. They only have to travel 6,730 miles.
It says that's the fewest miles of any team for the season. Fudging nice. Anyway, the team with the hardest schedule rating for the AFC East is the Miami Dolphins with a ranking of 106.5. That's harder than anyone in the NFC East, so it cracks the top 10.
The worst team in the division gets the hardest schedule. How does that work?
It just bees like that sometimes.
It says when you have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL, you don't really get an easy stretch, but you're also the Dolphins. So week 14, home against the Jets, home against the Giants, and home against the Bengals.
That doesn't sound horrible. That's a good way to end the season. Get 3 wins at the end, maybe get that.
That's not going to happen for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. You reminded me of the truth.
This is how you remind me of how Jeezy is wrong.
I can't believe you just took the name of Nickelback. How are you going to add insult to injury? You just whip out Nickelback anywhere? That's vulgar and disgusting.
It's not like you to say sorry. I was waiting on a different story.
Put that shit away. Right now.
This time I'm mistaken. Forehead knew a heart worth breaking.
You know how I know I need to kick your ass next time I see you?
The Dolphins might start 0-4 to start their year.
Why? What's happening?
Ravens, Patriots, at Cowboys, Chargers.
Yeah, those teams are going to beat up the Dolphins.
And then a week 5 bye. It also says they might as well spend that free week printing out "We're tanking for Tua" shirts, because that's what everyone in Miami will be rooting for to happen if the beginning of the season gets that bad.
It doesn't look good. And they got a week 5 bye, which is, again, just shitting on the Dolphins. Weird scheduling note, the Dolphins better pick a nice hotel near MetLife Stadium because they'll be spending a lot of time there in December because they're playing the Jets and the Giants in December. They also open the season that same way.
I do believe that concludes the Eastern versions of the AFC and NFC teams.
Why don't you just go ahead and say you do declare?
I do declare. Last bit here in the new news section. Pro Football Hall of Fame game happened. It's the first game of the preseason exhibition type game to induct the new Hall of Fame class. This year it was Falcons against Broncos, and I didn't watch.
Neither did I. Nice game in Canton, though. Broncos came out with a little W.
Sure. Joe Flacco playing in Denver now, don't forget.
We already touched on it, but I just want to say it one more time. Also, Zeke, he's holding out and he's not going to camp.
I did read today that his agent said the holdout may trickle into the regular season.
What is Dallas doing? They're not hiring Zeke and they're not upping Dak Prescott's contract? What's the deal? They're just going to fire them both at the same damn time?
You know what's fucking crazy in Jerry world? He's senile.
I don't know what to think over there. I just keep thinking, is he just going to fire them both?
It's the same thing as you say about John Gruden. Either he's a fucking genius or he's a fucking idiot. Or how do you say it? I forget. Something like that.
I don't know, but I must say that I'm cheesing my way back to you, Van, with a burning cheese inside.
Packers section here. Jordy Nelson officially signed his one-day retirement contract and retired as a Packer. Well, I was watching Jordy Nelson highlights, and dude, that go route, man, that Aaron Rodgers bomb to Jordy Nelson streaking up the sideline every time.
That back shoulder never gets old.
Every time. It's so good. It's so good.
So good. So good.
I feel like they are probably one of the most iconic duos in Green Bay history. And don't forget, Jordy spent 2015 injured the whole year. Tore his, I think it was his ACL in the first preseason game.
Yeah, that was booty.
Came back the next year, got the NFL Comeback Player of the Year award with almost 1,500 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns, something stupid fucking ridiculous good.
Jordy, our statement still stands. If ever you want to meet in Green Bay, grab a beer. The beer's on us. I think we can put that to the Cheezy Podcast expense account.
I think we'll even spring for a nice beer. Only the finest PBR for Jordy Nelson.
That's the nice beer?
I said the finest PBR.
What is that? It's cold?
Have you seen Jordy? That dude is a PBR drinker for sure.
I'd be happy to have a PBR with Jordy. That would be like a dream come true.
He actually might even be a high life guy because it's the champagne of beers. So Jordy, good luck in retirement. Enjoy tending to your farm that I assume you have because you're from Kansas.
I thought he was going back to the farm. I thought that's what they said.
You may have been. You could just do what Brett Favre did and ride his little snapper on his grass in Kill, Mississippi. Whenever I think of that, Brett Favre retiring and going to mow his lawn, I just imagine Forrest Gump, a little red snapper like that.
Life after football.
Didn't see this one coming. Mike Daniels was cut.
This was really surprising. I know he's had the injury and everything, but I thought this was really surprising because he made that announcement saying like, hey, I'm good. You guys are going to see me out there.
So I watched Brian Gutekunst's press conference like the day after, and all the reporters asked some really tough questions about like, why did you wait this long? He's got his charity event this week that you guys are like bailing on him about. Like, why did you guys wait so long to do this? And right before that, they had signed Dean Lowry to a big contract extension. Basically came down to that there were some trade talks going on, and they kind of just fizzled out. And fortunately, it was just time. It's a money thing. He was in Green Bay for 7 years, definitely a vocal leader of our defense. 2017 made the Pro Bowl.
I keep seeing these comments about him being 6 foot. He was the shortest defensive lineman. Brian Gutekunst talking about how he wants to get bigger bodies up front. It gives me no hope. I'm not even 5'9", Van. At 5'8 3/4, my football position is man on the internet who talks about football.
And Mike Daniels, like I said, loud vocal guy, definitely outspoken. It was a couple of years ago. We had a pretty bad loss. We just weren't flat on defense, whatever. Mike Daniels said, we got to play angry. He says, it's got to be noticeable. Like this team is pissed off. They're angry. Someone pissed in their Cheerios this morning. You know what I mean? I would also be pretty upset if someone peed in my Cheerios.
I'm just saying the level of anger will either sharply increase or sharply decrease if you take that first bite without knowing.
I guess it depends on what you're into. It's 2019.
If you got a bowl of cereal with pee on it and you didn't notice, you took that first bite, you'd either get incredibly angry or you would go into a confusion of emotions.
You'd first have to recognize, it'd take your brain a second to go, that's warm piss. That's... I would have that second of your gears churning, and then I would go
I'm telling you, it's either rage or a ball of confusion.
Probably. First off, who is just peeing in Cheerios? I want to know who just goes around peeing in people's Cheerios.
I don't know. If you see somebody walking around with a beer bong and a box of Cheerios,
don't trust that person.
Just don't trust that person.
If that person's like, hey, you want to come to my house and have breakfast? You just say no.
Fucking just pee into the beer bong, into the bowl.
It makes it more ergonomical, easier to get the pee into the Cheerios.
It's just so difficult. What's the point of that? I don't even know why that's where I'm at. All right, anyway, let's keep going.
Mike Daniels is actually staying in the NFC North. He goes to the Lions for 1 year, $9.1 million, 7.8 guaranteed. He was supposed to make 8.1 with us this year, so he pretty much just gets a raise. But like I mentioned earlier, they're talking about trading him. Potential suitors were the Browns, Patriots, or Chiefs.
I think he'll be missed.
It also says as well that our GM, our coaches have faith in our young defensive line. You've got Kenny Clark, who I would argue is better than Mike Daniels, and he's young. He's like 23 or 24.
Yeah.
Dean Lowry, also young guy. Tyler Lancaster, also young guy. Rashawn Gary coming in. You got the Smiths that can play on the line too. We're young and we're good up front. So I think it was probably just the price tag thing, and unfortunately that's what a lot of these things come down to.
I don't know. I think it also comes down to that size thing. That they do harp on that quite a bit. At only 6 foot tall, he's kind of a small guy on that line.
Interested to see what happens because a lot of times solid players like that leave Green Bay and they fizzle out, right? Look what happened to Jordy. Didn't do so well for the Raiders. Look what happened to Josh Sitton. He left. He went to the Bears. Didn't play well there. TJ Lang left and went to the Lions. Didn't play well there. We'll see what happens with Mike Daniels. He's been in the league 7 years. He's not exactly young. And he's injury prone. So,
sorry, Mike Daniels.
So as I mentioned, we signed Dean Lowry to a contract extension. Made a couple pickups. Picked up running back Corey Grant. who previously played for Jacksonville, and defensive lineman Olive Sagapalu, who actually, Wisconsin Badger, go Badgers,
Yeah.
336 pounds, and can do backflips. Watch the video. Watch it.
I'm looking up his name.
Just watch the video.
I don't need to do all that.
You don't want to see a very large man doing a backflip?
All right, I'll think about it.
One more cool video you could go watch. Brett Favre did a single-handed chip-in from like 30 yards out. Nonchalantly, like one hand, just doop, chips a golf ball in the hole. Real jealous.
Does his golf glove have a thumb, or is it just completely ripped out again?
That video from before of his just completely ripped to shreds. Last note here for the Packers section. Matt LaFleur actually kicked Josh Jones out of practice a couple weeks ago for fighting. He used 2 words. You know what he said?
Get out?
It's not as much fun if you have the article in front of you.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah, he said get out.
I was just guessing. I didn't actually look at it.
Matt LaFleur says, that's not what we want to be about. We've got to take care of our teammates. We're a team. We need everybody. So that's just kind of how we operate.
Get Out, also an excellent motion picture by Jordan Peele.
That's pretty good, yeah. Pretty good. He says, we're going to have a zero-tolerance policy on that. Now, the interesting thing about Matt LaFleur, you look at him, looks like a super nice, chill, smiley guy, looks really personable and all that, but, you know, he does not mess around, doesn't take shit. 2 words. Get out.
I mean, when you're a new coach, you got to go in there and you got to assert yourself, I think. Otherwise, I mean, these are big, strong, headstrong guys. You got to go out there. You got to set the tone. You got to let them know. There's a psychology to it. You always want to go in more stern than you have to be because you can always lighten up, you know. Whoa. Gossip section?
That's right. Adrian Peterson is broke as a joke, dude.
What is his problem?
Wasting a lot of money and poor investments. He's made almost $100 million in his career. And funny part of the article here, reports of his money woes were met with revelations about the legendary running back's prolific fathering. He refused to say how many children he has in the past, but estimates range from 6 to 8.
How can nobody have a straight answer? It seems like somebody should know exactly how many children he has.
Another quote here, sports media identity Jason Whitlock says, that's a business decision that will set the foundation for every other business decision you make the rest of your life. Adrian Peterson has 6 kids with 6 baby mamas. You know how expensive that is? You know how many bad business decisions that is? He's supposed to be broke. I don't care how much money you can make. You're supposed to be broke if you've been that irresponsible.
Check out this quote. This is the most outrageous thing I have ever heard. Listen to this. In order for Adrian Peterson to go bankrupt after making $100 million in 12 years, he'd have to average spending over $25,000 a day for 12 straight years. And somehow not be spending that money on assets which retain value. How the fuck can you spend $25,000 per day on average and not have a fucking asset?
I can tell you a big chunk of it right now. His 30th birthday, he bought first-class plane tickets to Houston for 320 family and friends. Had snake charmers from Dallas, world-renowned belly dancers from New York, Jamie Foxx as a DJ, and he rented a lemur.
What, a lemur?
Peterson entered atop a camel and spent the night seated on a throne with a python draped around his shoulders. That's how you can waste $25,000 a day on average, doing shit like that.
I guess at the end of that, you would have 0 assets acquired.
None. And he's currently facing 3 lawsuits. The first one filed by a bank, which accused Peterson of defaulting on a $2.4 million loan he took out in 2016. He was ordered to pay back more than $600,000 last year. He took out a separate $4 million loan just a month before that, and he missed his first payment on it. The third lawsuit claims he defaulted on a $5.2 million loan, which he took out to try and pay off his previous debts.
$5.2 million to consolidate his other debts?
Yes.
Adrian Peterson, I hope you can get a job that pays well.
Oh, my word. And he's still good.
I mean, he's still playing in Washington as far as I know.
Next ridiculous thing in the gossip section. We haven't talked about him in a while. Antonio Brown.
Oh, and AB is back.
He rode a hot air balloon to his first training camp practice.
Classic. I want to ride a hot air balloon.
I have so many questions. How can you plan to be on time?
How do you get into LA on a hot air balloon?
What about like FAA airspace type shit, right? How do you control the speed at which you're going to arrive? You can be late. You can't control the wind speed. You're going to show up late. Where do you land this balloon? In the middle of the fucking field?
That's what I'm trying to ask. Maybe it's one of these things where these big city teams play out in the suburbs.
I mean, they do practice elsewhere. Like the Packers training camp, they do at St. Norbert College. But still, like, okay, you still need a big-ass area to land a hot air balloon, which I'm assuming is probably going to be the practice field. Now people have to come and clean the fucking air balloon off of the field because you're acting a damn fool. You're wasting practice time. You're probably not even on time. You probably showed up late because the wind slowed down, and now you're late to practice. This seems like a bad idea.
It looks cool. I watched the video. They landed it out in a big old open field. He probably still had to drive to practice, if I had to estimate.
Well, anyways, I have an interesting take article here. Actually, from GQ magazine.
I was noticing you did this for 2 articles. This is GQ Australia.
Oh, I did. Oh, look at that.
Adrian Peterson's story was also from Australia News.
Well, my uncle used to live in Australia, so you know. So this is not NFL related. It is college football related. And have you seen Louisiana State University just put $40 million into their locker room?
To quote 21 Savage, how much money you got? A lot.
The photos of the locker room here, it looks like a fucking spaceship.
I was just going to say that. It looks like, for whatever reason, they have their helmets in what are futuristic teleportation boxes. Like if you wanted to teleport that helmet to another box a million light years away, you could do it instantaneously through these helmet showcases.
It's either that or it could be like a bank tube.
It could also be a bank tube. Yes, you're right.
Can you imagine just push a button, the helmet goes...
That would be...
And then it gets stuck and you have to go inside anyways. But they have what they literally call sleep pods. And if you look at it, they're like reclining big-ass seat/sleepers that you can lay back in. It reminds me of The Matrix when they're all in their pods.
Oh, yeah. Well, this even has a hookup for their cell phone so that it holds their phone for them. They have a little, like, bendy arm cell phone holder grabber thing.
Individual lights. I'm sure in that little, like, drawer footrest thing, I'm sure that they keep their cleats and probably, like, some snacks and things.
Well, I just keep looking at this, though, and I'm trying to figure out which part cost $40 million.
All of it. You're only seeing a part of it, too. This thing is huge. Every player on that team has one of these spots.
The other thing that's crazy about this is all of the lighting. I think the lighting has got to be the most expensive part of this whole damn thing. There is up and down lighting for every fudging thing. Like normally you go in a room, it's got some overhead lights.
Maybe some accent lights around the perimeter.
I don't know if this has any overhead lighting. It's like 100% accent lighting. It's like if you were trying to illuminate a football field using nothing but candles, that's kind of this approach here, seemingly.
I'm sure it's all meant to relax the players and get them calmed down and stuff. But like I said, there's literally sleep pods in there. I mean, they literally called this locker room, they called it, quote, the players' lounge. The seat folds out to a sleeping pod. Each space is its little own locker room, storage for shoes and clothes. And they also have a state-of-the-art gym, nutritional facility, a pool, and even a theatrette for players to watch movies and TV shows in, which I'm assuming is just a baby movie theater.
Which for everyone else in the world would just be a full, like, you know, a theater.
I think my big-ass TV I got done hanging on the wall is a theatrette.
It sounds like it's some kind of seductress.
Jeezy, would you care to come into the lower level here and watch a rom-com on the theatrette?
All right, fine, I'm down.
I'll provide the drinks.
What was that place where I got those chicken wings? Big Howie's? Big Louie's?
Hungry Howie's.
Hungry Howie's. All right, I'll bring the Hungry Howie's.
We can get some Hungry Howie's. We can sit on the couch and watch some movies in my theatrette. I put this article in here because just to point out once again that the NFL is most certainly, and football in general is most certainly, a business. It's a money-making machine, which can be good and bad. You can raise a lot of money for children's groups, and you can raise a lot of awareness for social issues and things like that. But at the same time, I saw another picture of this LSU's new locker room directly next to a picture of one of their libraries at LSU, and the library is crumbling. Holes in the drywall, looks like there's water damage. With these multi-million-dollar contracts and these guys, like Zeke holding out over maybe $5-10 million over the next handful of years. It's so much money going around, and a lot of it I feel can be used elsewhere. Like, do these players need a $40 million locker room? Couldn't they have had a $38 million locker room and spent $2 million on the library? Zeke, do you really need however many million you need? You'd be fine with $5 million less. Adrian Peterson needs all he can get, though.
Adrian, I was just going to say, that's funny. Sorry, one quote I want to say here is, college football is a big money business. Texas A&M, the most valuable team in college football, averaged revenue of $214 million over the last 3 years, according to Forbes.
All that money, a lot of it goes back to the university, which is great. At University of Wisconsin-Madison, I can honestly say that our football team built a lot of buildings on campus, a lot of great things like that. But it also paid for each player to have a moped to drive to school, paid for each player to get like 3 meals a day, full ride scholarships, and you have guys like, not woe is me, but guys like me. I was valedictorian of high school. Parents weren't necessarily well off or anything, and I had to apply for scholarships. I'm still tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt.
But you risk your health doing this stuff. I mean, there has to be some compensation. Some would argue that there's not enough for these kids who are they're putting their health in jeopardy.
Just the overall, I saw the number $40 million, and I thought to myself, how many more educational experiences could that $40 million have gone into rather than having a space locker room?
Sometimes you're just ready to take that locker room and see the year 3005.
Like I said, it's the Starship Enterprise, but purple on the inside.
Gotta be purple. Well, thanks, everyone. You've been listening to Getting Cheezy with Van and Jeezy.
I'm Van.
And I'm Jeezy.
As always, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Twitter, cheesypodcast.com, iTunes, Google Play Music. Also, you can call, text us at any time, 980-2-CHEEZY, just cheesy with a Z, 980-224-3399. You'll be featured on the show one way or the other. I still want to know who the Madison, Wisconsin resident was who told me to shave.
That we need to know. That's got to be settled.
And perhaps we'll find out next time.
Hope so.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.